Howdy folks, welcome back to Nomad Boatbuilding. I'm Mark Rudin and we are working on the breasthook of the Catalina Wherry. Now so far we've done some pattern making, we've made up a blank for the breasthook, and to do that we actually joined two pieces of wood into a slight V so that we could get the crown that we wanted without having to have a really hefty chunk of material, which also means we don't have to remove as much material to get that finished crown. We've done a rough cut of the breasthook shape and fit it to the boat. And so the only thing left to do now is to carve the final shape of the breasthook. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to carve the top and bottom of that breasthook into a beautiful organic shape. And we're going to do that primarily with hand tools. And why are we going to do that with hand tools? Because I hate using the power tools that you would need to use in order to do this kind of work. So sit back and relax. Let me take care of the work. All right, this is almost an unclampable object, but I managed to come up with a way to do it. It's kind of ridiculous. These little offcuts of my laminations are actually coming in handy because the little steps here are allowing me to sort of use them as sort of like a machinist riser block, or I don't know what the hell you call them. Low profile cam clamp there, and a bunch of bench dogs. Anyhow, we'll see. I'm going to just try and, I was trying to think, I mean, I should just use like a angle grinder on there, maybe with a coarse disc or even the chainsaw disc. But I think I'm just going to go at it with my backing out plane. Put away a bunch of the junk that's going to start bouncing all over the place. Okay, let's see. There's quite a bit of material to get off of here, but you know what? Slow and steady wins the race on this stuff. Basically just radiating out from the center here. Let me just try something. This tool is a type of draw knife referred to as an in-shave. It's typically used by coopers for rounding out the insides of barrels. Now, chair makers use a similar tool for hollowing out seats, referred to as a scorp. It differs in that the scorp has got a more rounded U-shaped blade compared to the in-shave. I don't think I've pulled this out for 20 years. Nope. Doesn't like that. I'd say that works really quite well. Well, we'll just keep picking away at it like that. Eventually we'll get there. Okay, this has been going pretty good so far. The in-shave has been working okay. It doesn't take a big bite, however. Problem is that you start to it starts to skip every now and then. You get little speed bumps. As soon as that happens, it's hard to stop it from it happening. So what I've been doing is sort of just switching over to my backing out plane. spend a little time on that. And then that creates ridges this way mostly, and then I'll come in here with a shave and level those out some. And between the two, we're getting there. It's actually not taking very long at all, and it's a whole lot more pleasant than working with an angle grinder, that's for sure. Of course, we need to turn off the lights to see what we're really doing, so let's try that. So it's only in low raking light that you can really see what's going on. So maybe you can see all the scallops that we've made now from that. You can see how that starts skipping quite readily back to the plane. Now the lower we get, the closer we start getting to the shape of the bottom of the plane, and the more even these strokes get to be. So I'll just keep cruising along like that. That's gonna get me there pretty soon. I'm probably only about 15 minutes away from being done in here, I think. Okay, feels good. Yeah, it feels real nice. I think we'll stop there. I still need to cut this final shape, so I think I want to get to that before I worry about whether or not this is 100% done. And I think I want to shape the other side before I cut this final shape too. That way I get a more accurate a line to follow. By using this raking light that I can sort of see the surface a bit better, and I'm not scraping it to get a finish on it, finished surface just yet. I'm just scraping it to get rid of these facets and to give so that I can sort of see the shape a little bit better. The facets can be a little bit distracting sometimes. I can feel like I got a few spots in here that are not quite right, but getting closer for sure. I still have to cut this back, but by leaving it the way it is, you always get this sort of rough stuff that happens right near that edge, and it's hard to avoid that. So that just means if I get this nice and faired out, when I do my final cut, I'll have a nice clean surface right here along the edge. Another thing I can do is I can take like a light bat and spring it across. This is maybe not the best one. What else have I got here? This one might be a bit too stiff. But when you do that, you can see your high spots and your low spots. I can see I got a low spot right here, which means on either side there's a high spot, like right in through here. Try to get the bat and see how that looks. And that lighter colored one just shows up the shadows a bit better. Not sure if that's apparent, but as I spring it across, I can see that that my fairness is not great right in through here. And I could feel that already, actually. This is where I want to be careful I'm not being too aggressive with a plane, because I don't want to cause any tear out at this point. That would be bad. And on she goes. No, this way. Yeah. Just about done with shaping this deck. I'm where I want to be pretty much throughout the crown here. I'm just trying to dial it in towards the shear line. And I'd like to get this so that once I glue it in, I just have a little bit of touch up to do in order to finish it off. That said, I need to leave a little bit of wiggle room for the actual gluing process so that it all gets paired in nicely when we're done. Mostly that looks really good. Feel a couple of spots are a little bit high still. Of course, this is right where you don't want to get any grain tear out, so I'm going to be very careful about that. Sharp planes. And I should be using abrasives mostly. It feels nice. It worked out really, really well. Now on the back side, I've cleaned that off, ferreted out. That's ready to go. It's got a light sanding. What I'm thinking about doing is starting the varnish on the back side of this. I mean, this could be paint, could be varnish. It doesn't really matter which because it's buried after all. But I'm thinking before I install it, I might get 2-3 coats of varnish on here, and then I don't have to worry about it once it's in. So we'll pop this into the boat and have a look at it and see how she fits. So I've cut down my frame heads so that this lies on top of them. There we go. That looks really nice. It's got just a slight bounce, which probably tells me that I'm just riding just a little bit hard back here at the tail end. Just having to squeeze in a little bit. Probably just take a light shave off these ears here. I'm just about where I want to be. I'm really good in through here. I think I just want to take a few more strokes off back in this neck of the woods here. From maybe here back. But the same on the other side. Up here, I'm right where I want to be. In fact, this side might even be just a hair low. It's just coming up flush with the planking here right now. But I might end up actually just sort of taking this bevel that happens over here and carrying it through to the end of the stem. We'll see how I feel about that when I get closer, but that's just a thought I'm having right now as I look at this. My idea was to have this guy just sort of fare straight into the rub rails like this, but that presents a little bit of a problem here. The only way to change that is if this were to flatten out more up in here. And I could do that too if I really wanted to, I suppose. but I kind of like the crown that's in there. I think that looks good. So while it's here, there's a couple things I want to do. I need to round over this top edge, so we'll think about doing that. And the bottom edge, I think I want to chamfer it a little bit. I like roundovers on the top and chamfers on the bottom, because Joe wants to have something that's soft to grab here. And I think chamfers on the bottom can look quite nice, and it lightens this up a little bit. So what we'll do is we'll take a chamfer that runs up just about a 1/4 inch here, and we'll taper it out towards nothing, like that. The roundover, I think we'll leave that until the rub rails are on. I could even take this chamfer all the way through, but again, I'd like to have those rub rails on before I do that. If I feel like doing it, it's easy enough to do. I probably will bring a chamfer in here, but I'll worry about cleaning that up to that later on. It's easy enough to get in here with a spoke shave and just try and hit those last few strokes, I suppose. So all in all, I am happy with how this came together. It worked out really, really nicely. I don't know how many of you remember the little ears we stuck onto our blank in the beginning, but there's just one tiny little sliver of them left along here. You can barely see it at all. It's maybe just a strong 1/16 of an inch wide running along the edge. The other side, it's all gone. On this side, there's just a tiny bit left, and it's virtually invisible, so that worked out really well. Okay, now this little chamfer detail. We'll see if we can find a good way to get that in there without screwing anything up. Now, I hate that swoop shave. This is the round-bottomed Veritas spoke shave. I've never liked it. Could never get it to work for me. Or any round-bottom spoke shaves for that matter. I think your best bet is you get a small, just the smallest flat spoke shave you can get your hands on, and just soften all the edges all the way around it. It's gonna do a better job for you. Be more versatile. So we want the chamfer because it looks good, but we want to soften it up. So we'll just take the harsh edges off of it. Get some finer sandpaper to do that with, but for the most part, that looks really nice. That looks really good. So we'll do a round over here. I'll just save that till later on because it'll just be easier to do once I got doing the rest of the shear rounded all over in one shot. This is still a bit kind of rough in here though. There we go. Just about there. This is probably going to get a little bit more fairing in once the end wales are in again, so I'll just leave that at that point. There'll be more sanding that needs to get done because that's just 80 grit. You know, you got to get through your progression of grits.
fact, you can hit this with a scraper. It's probably the easiest way to get it to varnish ready. Scratches and ingrain they show up stick out like a sore thumb. So you really want to get rid of those. So you can hide scratches and face grain pretty easily, but ingrain not so much. That, I think, is ready to go into the boat. We'll, of course, probably get some varnish on there while we're waiting to actually do the final installation. And sometimes we'll do a little inscription on the back side here, just in pencil and varnish over it, just sort of giving a little detail about the origins of the boat. Something that only another builder is going to see down the road. Stuff that sort of goes onto the builder's plate as well, but builder's plates sometimes disappear. Okay, there we are. We are basically ready for installation on that then. So there you have it. There's a little bit about doing breast hooks. Breast hooks are kind of a signature element in the boat, so you want to do a nice job on them. And they can come in all kinds of shapes and fashions. And I mean, I've done dead flat breast hooks, and I think that can look fine. Crowned breast hooks is the, commonly accepted thing, but I've never liked breast hooks that have like a reverse convex shape to them. There's a few canoe styles out there that had that. I always thought they looked terrible. Having a little bit of an angle to this is a good idea. Either it's like plumb to the water line of the boat is one nice way to go. This one is just raked forward just a little bit. I think that can be fine, and they could be raked backwards too. It really depends on what your taste is. One thing that I've always found is that one of the hardest things about fitting breast hooks is getting all this fitted, and if there's a stem that protrudes back here such that that these breast hooks would have a little pointy ear sticking out here on the end, I've always found those to be particularly annoying to try and fit. And so I've always opted with just squaring it off at the back of the stem and leaving those little holes on either side of the stem. And while that might seem like a bit cheesy, in fact, I think it's better for the boat because it provides a spot for drainage to happen underneath the breast hook. In fact, I'll sometimes, rather than just leave it square, I'll just round out the corner of that breast hook a little bit, just at those corners where it hits that hollow, make it look purposeful, and then you can have both an easier fitting job and drainage for the breast hook area for when the boat's inverted, and that is definitely a good thing. Okay, we are done with this little bit of the project, so we'll move on. Okay, our breast hook is carved. It is ready to get installed. We just got it pre-drilled for some fasteners, slap in some epoxy and gobber in place. But we're going to hold off on doing that because there's a couple things I need to do still, and they are much easier to do without the breast hook there. So we will save the installation of the breast hook for a future episode. Now, I really want to thank everybody on Patreon who makes these videos possible. It's because of their support that I can take the time out of the workday to do this stuff for you. And if you can help me on Patreon, I really appreciate it. You can find links in the corner or down in the description. Now, our backing out plane that we've been using had a lot of mileage on it, and so it could use a good sharpening. So why don't you join me in this video, and we'll learn how to sharpen curved plane blades. Okay? Catch you later. Walk softly and carry a big slick.